Përshëndetje. Gjithë dim që ushqimi kryesor në dietën e gjithë secilit janë perimet. Ajo që nuk dim është se çfarë ham, nga vijnë këto perime, nga e kanë origjinën këto perime, sa janë ndryshuar gjatë rrugës. Të flasim pak në këtë emision për këtë pikë, sepse kam fatin e madh që të kem këtu një personazh shumë të rëndësishëm që është Adam Alexander, i cili i quajtur ndryshe dhe detektivi i farave, i quajtur me shumë emra në fakt, Indiana Jones i farave, i perimeve, eksplorator, kërkues thesares, researcher etj. Nëse do të vazhdojmë në anglisht, por do të kemi një përkthim në shqip, kështu që pa mëra. Okay. So, I made an intro, I introduced you with all the names that they call you, the Indiana Jones you heard already. So, I have here your book. There is this book, The Sea Detective, and I couldn't read in so fast, in so little time, the whole book, but I went diagonally through it. So I'm going to make you a few questions and you talk what you know best. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you is what we eat. What is the situation of vegetables in our tables? Generally, I mean.
I think the real challenge that we face is how are we going to feed ourselves in a sustainable way and to be able to restore biodiversity and health to our soil, but most important also to our own cuisine. And the reason why we are in such a difficult situation is because of the impact of what I would call continuous and intensive modern plant breeding over the last 70 years that has reduced the genetic diversity of the crops that we eat. And in the act of reducing this diversity, we create a real threat to being able to maintain the ability to grow these plants as the climate changes, particularly the impact of pathogens and diseases. And we have lost or are in danger of losing this fantastic ability in very diverse genetics of traditional varieties that have the ability to adapt and change, to resist disease, but most importantly to be nutrient dense, to actually be good for our health.
Yeah, you say something very interesting in your book, that the humanity developed from using vegetables from a means of existence to prime cause of premature death. Is that right?
Yeah.
And what my next question is when it all started, or where it all started.
Well,
after thousands of years that people maintain their seeds, what's that?
Well, to me, the amazing story of vegetables is also the story of civilization, because until 12,000 years ago, humans, we were hunter-gatherers. We only became settled farmers 12,000 years ago, and in many different parts of the world. And so this act of becoming settled farmers, actually, there are many reasons why it happened, and there's still much debate about why it happened. Was it to do with climate change? Was it 12,000 years ago? Was it to do with population pressures? That people suddenly thought, actually, we're not able to feed ourselves sufficiently just from hunting and gathering. And then an extraordinary thing happened, which is, in a sense, the creation of the farmer as this person who, through observation and curiosity, started to select from what they saw growing around them the traits of certain crops. The most important to start with, particularly in this part of the world, is, and in the Eastern Mediterranean and what we call the Fertile Crescent, was obviously wheat, the great founder crop. So you had wheat, chickpeas, other pulses, and this became the foundation of agriculture, certainly in this part of the world. As I write about in my book, there were also amazing things happening in what we call the New World in the Americas, in South America. So what is so to me so inspiring is actually these Neolithic ancestors of ours who started this thing that is now fundamental to our sense of identity. And so the reason why I wanted to write the book was to help people to recognize that actually these things that are very prosaic, and particularly where I come from, where we have completely lost our connection with what we grow and eat, that actually when you think about particular varieties of vegetables that are so important in our food culture, they actually tell us an awful lot about ourselves. And it's so important that we continue this journey of curiosity, of flavor, which is incredibly important, because unless the food is delicious, why would we grow it? And that it's our identity. And of course, that's one of the things that I've been seeing in Albania, being down in the Kocha region, is this...
So that's the other question. You have been all over, just for the people that don't know you, all over the world, searching for seeds, searching for the authenticity and better. You came to Albania for the first time, I guess?
Yeah.
And what did you discover in Albania? It was something you added in your treasure, let me not see.
Sure. So I'm very interested in Albania because it's a country that for decades was completely isolated. It had a very, very strong, powerful rural community, lots and lots of small farmers, a huge diversity of crops being grown. And I wanted to come and try and understand and learn about how important in Albania it is to be able to identify and conserve and celebrate these crops, but also what is it that I and others can learn from how this food culture in Albania. And so to be able to come here and see the huge number of land races of varieties of everything that is being grown, from beans to tomatoes to maize to spinach to fruit, it's to me it's not only a revelation that it was I'm always surprised and thrilled when I find myself in a community where at the heart of the community is the land, is what they're growing, that they've been growing it for generations, that they save their own seeds, that it's at the heart of who they are. And this whole continuum of sowing, saving, sharing seeds is fundamental to our sense of humanity, but also to our future.
So you see hope in Albania, coming to that, seeds of the, I like to call them seeds of the past, seeds of the future, the same thing. What is a small suggestion you should give to the farmers for the future?
My suggestion to farmers is keep doing what you're doing, but to me the real challenge, as we know in Albania, and it's not just in Albania, it's all over the world, are the challenges of depopulation. How do we make farming, and particularly horticulture, growing vegetables, something that the younger generation want to continue, they want to keep doing? And that, to me, the way we do that is we have to restore the nobility of the farmer. So one of the things that I was really impressed by was talking to agronomists and also to teachers who are teaching kids in school about their their environment and what their food, is that actually within a community, farmers are respected as much as teachers and doctors. They are fundamentally an important key part of life, and actually that is something that we absolutely have to cultivate, really cultivate, because in my country, and I've seen it here, people want to leave the land. They don't value farming. It's not respected, and it has, you know, I sit at the feet of these farmers, and some of them that I've met, you know, they're amazing people. They have incredible knowledge and skill, and they are at the heart of how we are evolving cultivars that are going to feed us all as the climate changes.
Super. Coming to your country, you've done something excellent. You don't come from an agriculture background. You have been a filmmaker for very long.
Yeah.
It started in Ukraine, as I read, with that red pepper and the rest. Do you still have that red pepper in your garden?
I most certainly do. So
the beautiful thing, and my question is, could you talk a little bit for your experience, what you've done with because I know that you have created a garden. Just tell me something about your practice and...
I mean, first of all, yes, I'm a filmmaker by profession, but I'm also a farm boy. So my mother was a farmer, and I've lived in the countryside all my life.
Excellent.
And I went to a school where horticulture, growing things, gardening, was very, very important. So it's in my blood. But what happened was, although I've been growing for many years, and I even had a horticultural business for a short time in the 70s, when I was traveling for my work, and I found myself in Donetsk 35 years ago, of all places, and out of necessity had to find something to feed my crew, and I came across this pepper, which was completely delicious, and I took the seed. I wanted to bring some seed back home so that I could grow it myself. But what it did is it triggered in me this thinking about the idea that food is part of our identity, that a local variety from Donetsk, grown by a woman who's had been growing it, and her mother and her grandmother before her for generations, that this was something unique and part of her identity. And I saw in my travels so many varieties of vegetables that were seriously threatened and endangered because of changes in farm practice, particularly because of war and conflict. And so I wanted to start to collect some of those just to be able to maintain them, and then also to put them back out, to share them, particularly with displaced people, with refugees, but also just to be able to start to propagate them again and have other people grow them and enjoy them. Because it's only by growing and celebrating these amazing varieties that we will keep them, maintain them.
Excellent. And what I know is that you not only collect seeds and you plant your garden. It's 499 varieties and 14 species with different varieties inside of them. But you also you donate to the other seeds, which is excellent and something that people should do, because sometimes they are they keep it like property and they don't distribute. So it's something that they should take in consideration.
Now, I'll say one thing, Monica. Yes, so when I wrote the book, I had 499 varieties.
So you have much more
now I have in Albania.
I can imagine.
But one of the things I think is also very important for me is that food is also about memory. So in my garden, when I grow, I don't know, 140 different varieties a year, it's memory. So interestingly, I feel, obviously, the seeds that I have been given while I've been here.
So it's you are a filmmaker, but you keep as a memory the seeds and the plants that you grow, not the photos and the...
No, exactly.
Excellent, I love it.
Yeah. So I will now have many of the seeds that I've been given that I will then grow myself to see just how delicious they are. But of course, the act of planting them takes me back to Albania.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, I know that there are a lot of things. I hope very soon this book will be translated in Albanian. There is not even in English in our stores, but it is a necessity to read. It's a beautiful thing because the storytelling is fantastic. It's like with stories, and it's very funny. You take experiences, you learn, but you also enjoy the reading of this book. It's excellent. I really will enjoy it because I didn't read it totally. I will read it in the future. Thank you for giving it to me.
Well, thank you very much.
So, Alexander, I like to call you Adam because he's like the first man in the earth. It's like, it's been a pleasure, an honor to have you here. Extremely good conversation that for sure will help many people.
Yeah, I'm very glad to have come here. It's been an amazing first trip for me, and it's only the start. There's a lot of really interesting collaborations that can be happening in Albania, which I'm very excited about.
Super cool. So nice
Thank you,
to meet
Monica,
you.
and you. Thank you.